Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel today. I am Verlita Odom, MSW, LCSW, CCM, and creator and host of Verlita's Everything in Between podcast that I record on, originally Anchor, which was bought out by Spotify, and also share and upload those videos here. So I recording videos here and sharing them on YouTube is new, but it's something that I do plan to continue to do in the future. I hope that you find the information that I share and have shared in the past helpful. If you have any suggestions about topics that you would like for me to touch on, please message me and let me know, and I will see what I can do. So for today, this video is for all of my hardworking social workers out there who are working towards their clinical license. I am newly licensed as a clinical social worker, and so I just wanted to share some information as far as how I studied and prepared for the test, and hopefully you guys will find it helpful if you're in the process of studying for the exam. So I did upload a video earlier, just going over how I studied for my case manager certification, and I did get that in December 2024. After I tested, I decided I was going to take a month off before I started studying for my clinical license. So I did that January 2025. I took that off to celebrate the new year and my 47th birthday in January. And then I set a 6-month study um, time frame for myself before I registered and took the test. So that's what my plan was, to give myself 6 months. Now, I understand some of you guys may not be able to take 6 months, and that's fine. But my clinical license was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't something that my employer asked me to do. So I wasn't on any sort of schedule or anyone else's schedule. It was something I wanted to do. It was something I decided to pursue. So I decided to give myself 6 months to study for the test. And best case scenario, I would be ready sooner than that, maybe at the 3-month mark. Um, and then I would be able to test. So what I decided to do was dedicate 2 hours each day in February to studying for my exam. And I utilized the ASWB study guide, the outline that they provide for us as far as going to their website. They give you information, several pages that you can download or print if you would like, that goes over in detail the steps to becoming licensed, the information that you will need to study and know for the test. So I utilized the ASWB study guide that was provided. I answered the few questions that were provided in the study guide as well. Um, and I had already decided that I was going to be taking the ASWB practice test at some point. I just was not certain when that would be, but I was going to do that. So, in the month of February, again, I studied 2 hours each day. I would take off um, the weekends for the most part, but there were some days that I would study, six days a week, at least. So I did that in February. By the time March rolled around, I was already, kind of burned out. I had a lot going on as well, work wise, and also personally. So I did not study as much in March, although I did still study. It just was not 2 hours each day. Again, 2 hours was good for me. You do what's best for you. Maybe 1 hour is good for you, and or maybe that's all you have is 1 hour. Maybe all you have is 30 minutes. I don't know. But I could dedicate the 2 hours, and I wanted to do it every day. So in March, though, I did not do, I was not as focused on the studying as I was in February. But then in April, I did get back on track with everything, started studying again. Um, uh, and was dedicating a couple hours again every day to studying. So I was prepared. I felt like I was prepared to take the practice exam on by the end of April, and I did do that. Took the practice exam, and April 30th, and I passed it by 12 points. I utilized, the rationales that they provided, studied the questions that I passed and did not pass on the practice exam, just so I would, have a better understanding of the rationale for all of the questions. So did that and was very happy with the results. Like I said, I passed by 12 points. Um, and then I decided I was going to schedule my test in May, and I did that. So at the end of May, I believe it was May 30th, I took the test and passed it. And I passed the actual test by 20 points. So what I used for study material, I first purchased the Agents of Change study or test prep information, went through all of that information pretty thoroughly, and then even reviewed some sections that I knew I needed more, more information, more guidance on. Along the way, I also added the Pocket Prep application or Pocket Prep app um, from that I downloaded, and that was recommended to me by a friend, and I found that extremely helpful, because I initially was utilizing the free version, but then I wanted, to have more questions, more practice questions. So I went ahead and purchased the subscription. And with that subscription, you have access to 1,000 questions. I did not, answer all of those questions. I worked through at least 300, somewhere between 300 to 400 questions I actually answered. The other thing that I found very, very beneficial with that app is that you get access with the subscription, you get access to 3 practice exams that are set up similarly to the actual ASWB test, in that it's 170 questions, just like the ASWB exam. Of course, not all of the 170 questions are actually scored. I believe only 150 are scored, but the practice exams actually give you 170 questions. The tests are timed, and they are you get the 10-minute break in between if you choose to utilize the 10-minute break. So I actually took 2 out of the 3 practice exams that were available on the Pocket Prep app. So again, I studied the rationale for the questions I actually answered correctly and the ones that I missed. And not the other thing I found beneficial to that with that app is that it breaks it down by the 4 domains that you're tested over, or that you should have your knowledge, your base of knowledge. And you can see which areas, based on the questions you're answering, because the questions are given to you randomly from the 4 different, areas that you're tested over. And it gives you your percentage. So you can clearly see which of the 4 areas you're weakest in, and you can start to focus your studying on those areas. So I just wanted to quickly go over with you guys, what you're actually tested those 4 areas. So it is actually human development, diversity, and behavior and environment. That's one domain or content area. The second one is assessment, diagnosis, and treatment planning. The third is psychotherapy, clinical interventions, and case management. And then the fourth content area is professional values and ethics. So again, that app actually will show you, based on your answers, which subject areas you need to really have, pay more attention to. And it was just I found it extremely helpful. So did that, utilized that, Agents of Change, the Pocket Prep app. And then along the way, I also discovered a YouTuber, Ray2. I used his videos for to study and become familiar with the medications. He has some great videos to help you learn the common medications that are prescribed. Some they're not all prescriptions. Some are even just over the counter medications that are used. Um, but again, if you go onto YouTube, you will see those videos. The majority, of course, are prescribed, medications. But anyway, so just wanted to, um, give a shout out to Ray too, because his videos were very helpful as well. So those are basically the tools that I used. Again, the practice exam is also very helpful. So I took the practice exam. Once you take it, you have access to the test for like 30 days once you start the test and finish it. So I was able to go back in up to 30 days to review certain questions and areas that I needed to focus on. So with those things, dedicating the time each day, for the most part, again, full transparency, it wasn't every single day for those months. Again, I slacked off some of those months, but for the most part, utilizing for me personally, I was okay with dedicating the 2 hours. Excuse me, the 2 hours, each for each day or for most of each week. So did that. Agents of Change again was helpful as well, but I personally benefited from the practice exam, the ASWB practice exam, and the two practice exams that I took utilizing the test, the Pocket Prep app. So those are the things that I used. Again, I um, want to encourage everyone. We can go over all the information we would like, but the first thing you really need to do is believe that you can pass the test. You need to go in there. Even before you go in there, you need to study with the belief that you are going to pass the test, that you have the knowledge that you need to pass the test. And again, if you're able to take more time to study, I recommend that as well. So you don't feel rushed or pressured to take the test at a certain time, unless again, you're required to do it by your job. And then, I understand that that's out of your control. But for those who don't have those pressures, I would say, set your time as far as, what you want to, how long you want to study, when you plan to take the test, pick your materials, your tools that you plan to use. Again, for me, it was the ASWB study guide material that's available on their website. It was Agents of Change. It was Pocket Prep app. It was RayTube, and it all was, worked well for me. And then, of course, taking the practice exam. And also, I almost forgot, I also did join some of the Facebook groups that are available. Um, just some of the clinical groups that you can join. I think I may have just searched, LCSW groups or something on Facebook and several popped up. Join those. Um, those are helpful because a lot of times those people will post when they pass their test. So it gives you encouragement, right? You unfortunately are able to see if people don't. And then the groups are usually very encouraging to the people who are struggling. So it's good to be a part of a community that's supportive. So I would say maybe try utilizing some of the Facebook groups as well, because a lot of them will offer up questions as well with the rationale. I know Agents of Change also has a Facebook group where practice questions are given, and I believe Ray too or Ray does as well. So, but those are the things that I use. But just be encouraged. You can do it. It isn't an easy test. It is not an easy test, but you've come this far for a reason. Um, if you were a licensed master social worker or you are LMSW, that test was not an easy test. But yet you did it. So just be prepared. Encourage yourself. If you are one to use affirmations, I encourage that. For me personally, I use prayer and scripture to encourage myself. But believe that you can do it even from the beginning when you start studying. And just remind yourself that at all times that you can do it. And I had to do that for myself. I often have uh, anxiety during the test, but I've taken many tests, so I'm prepared for that. I always, usually somewhere during the test, I will mentally start to just panic and tell myself, "You are going to fail this test." That's what I will do, and I am already prepared that that's going to happen. I've done that on every. major licensing or certification tests, and I've had many. I've tested for my LMSW course and passed that. I had the moment during that exam. I'm a licensed real estate agent in Texas, and that's a two-part test, national and state. I had that issue as far as like a panicked moment, and then my CCM I took in December 2024 had a panicked moment, and during the clinical exam I had a panicked moment. So I already anticipate that that's going to happen. But I know what to do, which is to ground myself. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to stop and I'm going to say a prayer. I'm gonna encourage myself, and then I'm gonna go back at it. And I'm thankfully and thank God I've never failed any licensing or practice exam. I've always passed on the first attempt. But I know that may not be everyone's story. But just know that even the best test takers, or even the people who, because I don't necessarily consider myself a great test taker, but I mean I usually do well. But even I have my moments. So you're not alone. But again, you can do it. Um, you've come this far for a reason, so you got to believe that you can do it. So I hope that this information has been helpful to you guys. Again, these are resources that I used. As you all know, what worked for me may not work for you. You may use completely different resources and still pass the test. You may use all the same resources I use and not pass the test. But it's for the people who don't really know where to start, because I can tell you, I kind of just didn't know where to start. I just didn't, and so that is what helped me. So hopefully it'll help you. And if you guys found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions or questions for future episodes, let me know. All right, y'all take care. Be well.